With the legendary Gray Gables looking over our shoulder, we're about to witness the unveiling of a new sign on the lawn at Chazy Central Rural School. This is Calvin Castine. It's June 28th, the day after graduation, and the Chazy Alumni Association has invited us here. We'll be going on later to the annual Alumni Banquet. But first, there's a dedication of a new sign and a gathering comprised mainly of Chazy alumni, but not entirely, are here to witness it. And through the magic of television, you will also be witnessing it. Reverend James Lamity, who is substituting for Father William Gordon, who is ill at the moment. The pastor, Father Gordon, the pastor of the Sacred Heart, is going to say a few words, I believe. Becky
Lord,
West.
Bless this sign made of material, but signifying the marvelous spirit here in Chazy, particularly the alumni and all of the neighboring businesses that supported this project. May they all be blessed through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Bob. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. This is really, really exciting to see a project come to an end like this, and I appreciate everyone's support, the donations, and everything that has come together to get this sign here today. I need some help up here, so Andrea, Andrea Rosidi is one of our PTO members.
Okay, apparently the PTO is involved in this.
And everything. And I guess this is the big moment.
I don't know about Angela, but I know Becky is not a graduate of Chazy, so she's not an alumnus. So this is something done apparently by somebody other than the alumni, but the alumni are the ones who invited me. And there it says,
Ms. Silver, would you help us do the honors? It would be
the elementary principal, Lisa Silver, will cut the ribbon. Wonder why it's not green. There you go, ribbon cut at 6:34. Chazy Central Rural School established in 1915.
On behalf of Chazy School, I would like to thank Rebecca and her leadership over the last year or so and her initiative to go ahead and create a school sign and raise the funds. She's a very dedicated member of the community, of the school, and of the PTO, and I want to say thank you to Rebecca for her leadership, and of course thank you for everyone that supported this initiative and brought this sign to us. So thank you, Rebecca, and thank you to the PTO. Thank you.
There's that too. I want everybody to see this. I want to mention, want to give credit. The majority of the design was done by Ken Blair. The back of the design, the winning design for the back, was submitted by Rick Bayshard. The school motto on the back side is on the back of the stone, and the motto was created by Gary Southworth. I don't remember what year. A long time ago. So that's, with all that together, I mean, this is it. This is the end result. So thank you, everyone.
Of course, that's the old school that was torn down in 1968 after being built in 1915 by William H. Miner. And we'll see if we can read what it says. CCRS Pioneer of Rural Schools. Conceived by Reverend George Robson Mott and financed through the generosity of William Henry Miner, Chazy Central Rural School was nationally recognized at the beginning of the 20th century as a pioneering institution with respect to its ability to provide effective methods in rural education, utilizing a specifically designed curriculum and unparalleled school facility, as well as an educational philosophy whose aim was to educate the whole child. I think I can read it here without moving the camera at this point. Chazy propelled rural education 20 years ahead of its time, providing an educational standard for its children that continues today. This community wishes to express its gratitude to these two men and to honor the role the school played, and to honor the role the school played in the evolution of rural American education. Chazy Central Rural School, where the past and present shape the future. And as we said, Gray Gables across the street.
But no, I just thought that you see it all. Oh yeah, okay. Well, just soon to get into you can be it now. You won't win a problem.
ready so we can begin the program. Good evening. My name is Chazy and I am from the class of 1973, and I am the Executive Director of the Alumni Association of Chazy Central Rural School, and I would like to welcome you to the 23rd Annual Alumni Banquet. This evening we will be honoring the 50-year class, the class of 1953, and I would ask the class of 1953 to please stand. Before we begin our program, I would like to introduce to you some of our distinguished guests. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Gerald Blair, Superintendent of Chazy Central Rural School. Jerry, would you stand? I don't see Father James Lamity. Father, are you here? Well, Father is filling in for Father Gordon of Sacred Heart Church, who is currently recuperating from an operation. Mr. Fred Smith, curator of Alice T. Meyer Museum. And Mr. and Mrs. Calvin Castine, would you please stand? They are from Hometown Cable. Mr. Castine is already standing. He's the one with the camera, and they graciously come every year and cover the Alumni Banquet, which you can see, I'm sure probably within the week, aired on Hometown Cable. Each year as we begin to gather and prepare for our banquet, we struggle with the task of finding someone that is not only willing, but also capable of being the MC for the evening. This year, we were very fortunate to have a member of the class of 1953 step forward and take on this very important role. It's also my understanding that he has already been MC for the Alumni Association in the past. Well, he tells me not. So I was going to tell you that we have an old pro here tonight who would rip right through this program and get us out of here, but I guess that will probably still happen anyhow. So I would ask you to please help me in welcoming a member of the class of 1953 and our MC for the evening, Mr. Gerald DeBrescia.
Kathy was right on two things and wrong on two things. I'm willing but probably not able, and I'm old but not a pro, so we'll work from there. I'd like to start tonight by introducing John West, who was a member of the class of 1940, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. John?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Would you remain standing, please? Mr. Robert McClare, a husband of the member of the class of 53, will give the invocation.
Today marks the 23rd year that you have assembled together to celebrate your alma mater. Especially important for some of you is this being your 50th year. To you I say congratulations. And I am grateful for the privilege of being here because my wife Nancy is a part of this class celebrating the 50th. This event is a great tribute to your membership and community. By all means, continue the tradition and encourage the more recent alumni to participate in these festivities. And we ask Heavenly Father to bless this food we are about to receive and let it be nourishment for both body and soul. And we ask this through Jesus, your Son. Amen. Now, if you don't mind, I've got a little story. I mean, it's a short one. You ready to have them sit? Yeah. You may be seated. I hate to cut into your time, Joe.
That's all right. Take all you want.
While Nancy and I were returning from our trip down south this past April, Nancy invariably has the radio on. I can do without it. But anyway, this little story or joke came about. So I asked her to immediately write down most of it if she could, because I thought it would be good to probably cover in church at some point. But the more I think about it, I think it's more appropriate for something like this. And here it is. This burglar went to a house, and showing a flashlight around, he spotted a CD player. He unplugged it and put it into a bag he was carrying. And then he heard a voice say, "Jesus is watching you." He very nervously showed the flashlight around, but saw nothing, and proceeded to see what else he could take. He found a stereo, unplugged it, and again placed the item into his bag. Once again a voice said, "Jesus is watching you." He frantically looked about with his flashlight and saw a parrot and asked the parrot if he was the one that said, "Jesus is watching you." He said, "Yes." He asked the parrot, "Who do you think you are that you had said this?" And he said, "My name is Moses." The burglar said, "Who in the world would call a parrot Moses?" And he said, "The same one who would name his Rottweiler Jesus."
All right, thank you, Bob. With that, I think we are ready to start dinner, and I think that we will ask the table that John West was at to come up first, because I think we have some of our older graduates there. Then we'll go with the class of 53 and go right around in a circle. So if you want to start, that would be John West's table as the honor table tonight. I think everyone's finished, had dinner, had dessert. So if you'll be quiet for a moment, I'll ask Kathy Devins, your executive director, to come up and introduce all the association officers. Kathy?
There's many people in the association that helps us out a great deal, not only the officers, but a lot of people behind the scene, which are too many to name, so they all know who they are. So first I'll begin by saying thank you to all the people who work so hard behind the scene to make this banquet a success. The president of the Alumni Association, Donald Bucket Chombley, class of 1956. Vice President, Jane Fulton Hess, class of 1953. Secretary, Richard West, class of 1954. And Treasurer, Margaret Maggie Ryan, class of 1979.
Okay, next we'd like to introduce all the classes that are here, and as I announce the years, if you would please stand and be acknowledged. First of all, are there any classes from 1934 or before? Anyone from 1934 or before? Okay, I was told that our oldest graduate was from the class of 1935, but I know she can't be the oldest graduate. It's just that she graduated first, because if you see her, you'd know she was not the oldest. So Shirley Ducharme from the class of 1935, would you please stand? See, I told you she couldn't be the oldest. Is there anyone here from, I know there are, from the classes of 1936 or 1940? Would you please stand? How about 41 through 45? 46 through 50. Anybody from 51 or 52? Hey, I thought they were old a couple years ago, but we'll skip 53 for now. How about 54 and 55? 56 through 60. I wanted to get a lot more. 61 through 65. 66 through 70. 71 through 75. I feel like an auctioneer here. 76 through 80. 81 through 85. Anyone since 85? Anyone from the class of 2003? All right, we've got to work with some younger graduates, I guess. Okay, now, my pleasure this evening is to introduce my classmates from the class of 1953. We had 19 boys and girls in the class of 1953, actually 7 boys and 12 girls, so the odds were pretty good. I'm not sure what we've accomplished over the last 50 years, but one thing I did know from reading all the resumes that came out of the bulletin is that the 19 of us produced 60 children, 81 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. So I guess we've had a pretty good 50 years. Unfortunately, there are 3 of our classmates who couldn't be with us tonight because they are no longer with us, and I'd like a moment of silence for them, please. There's Clarence Grimshaw, who met an early death in 1973 in an automobile accident. Priscilla Rasmussen Parlato, who passed in 2000, and the following year, 2001, we lost Jean Gagnon Mooney. So if we could just have a moment of silence, please. So that left 16 of us. I thought we were going to have 14 tonight because 2 of our members, Giselle Oliver Corin, who now lives in North Carolina, said that she doesn't travel anymore, and Ronald Palmer couldn't make it. So We expected 14 and we ended up with 11, so that's not too bad. So as I call the 11 that are here, would you please come forward and get your class in and stay standing until we're all here so we can get a group picture. Now, starting in alphabetical order, we have Arlene, AP to 5. Arlene? Always have your hand down, right? Annette Brothers Blessing. Gee, I forgot to get a kiss from Arlene, but we'll do that later. Next is my cousin, Marilyn Burnham Baldwin. Marilyn, I think, came the furthest tonight to be with us. She came up from Kissimmee, Florida, just to be here. So we're glad to see her. Now we get to one of the leading men of the class, Charles Cody. Charlie had that nice 46 Merc when we were in high school that we all traveled around in. He's saying don't start it because he's afraid George Larmy will get up and continue. Next we have our Association Vice President, Jane Fulton Hess, who did much to organize us for our class tonight. Next, my old drinking buddy, I have to say, Mr. Alan Hislop. It's amazing we both made it this far, right, Alan? Next, we have Nancy LaPierre LeClaire. And next, Richard Lauren, one of the quiet members of our class. Quiet and serious. Next, my old neighbor from Ingraham, where we started, I think, playing Cowboys and Indians about 60 years ago, Sally Reynolds Brockington. Among other things. And last but not least, Jackie Russo Hickman. And me. The other three classmates that we were expecting but couldn't make it tonight are Andra Guden-Defferman, who celebrated her 50th wedding anniversary yesterday, so that's no doubt why she couldn't make it. Marilyn Brown, Howard, and Andrew Oliver.
Shane, take a peek out between somebody.
Yeah, put Shane in the front. I don't think.
Somebody kneel down.
See you next year. I'm in Richard.
Yeah. Okay. Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Fred Smith, curator of the Alice P. Minor Museum, to give us a presentation about the museum. Fred?
Well, sit back and relax. I have about 25 pages, so it won't take too long. I always like to come to this affair because I enjoy seeing some faces that I don't see that often. But I was very disappointed this evening not to see Father Gordon and to know that he's in the hospital recovering from surgery. I saw him, it must have been a month ago. He was walking down Main Street here in Chazy, and he noticed across the street a little boy trying to ring a doorbell. And the little boy couldn't quite reach the doorbell. And you know what a good man Father Gordon is. So he, with all the grace in the world, walked. Well, you're off to a bad start when people throw spoons at you. You have barely started. Well, the good father walked across the street to help this little boy who couldn't reach the doorbell. And so he walked over, put his hand on the boy's shoulder, and rang the doorbell. And then he knelt down next to the little boy and he said, "And now what?" And the little boy said, "Run like hell." A face that I see fairly often is Dick West, and Dick knows that amongst my college degrees I have an MBA. And Dick's a successful businessman, but he's always looking to be, better. He wants to get to the top. So he, from time to time, asks me my advice. And sometimes I have a lot of little parables I share with Dick in giving him advice. And just last week he stopped by and said, "Fred, I've got to be making more money than I'm making." And so I told him about the bull and the turkey. You see, there was a bull. It was down on the Rata Road, I think. There was a bull resting by a tree, and there was a turkey near the bull. And the turkey said to the bull, "I so wish I had the energy to get to the top of that tree." And the bull said, "Well, if you were to peck at some of my dung here, it would give you energy because it's filled with very special nutrients." So the turkey started pecking, and sure enough, he was able to get up part of the way. Wow, this is great. And then he pecked some more, and the next day he got closer to the top. And finally, with some more pecking of that bull dung, he got to the very, very top of that tree. And along came a farmer and shot the turkey. What's the message? Bullshit will get you to the top, but you won't last long. I do a lot of research, but I enjoy that. But this is serious. We're off the jokes. I don't have many more. And I like to compare through things and find out information about people and places and the miners. And I was particularly interested in finding out some things about this class. These people who all must be in their late 60s, and they're very respectable looking things. I heard about the silly little games they played when they were young, but now they are respected citizens of the community who would never suspect that they did some of the things they did at a younger age. But, aha! Here is a letter, a copy of a letter, written on December 5th, 1950. It seems that for years, the Chazy principal, this is a fact, used to write once a week to Mr. Minor this kind of account of what had happened in the school each week. And after William Minor died, that continued. So this letter is to Mr. A.P. Withall, President of the William H. Minor Foundation, Chicago, Illinois, and it's from Mr. Abbey, I believe, the principal at the time. And note the second paragraph. There was nothing of importance that occurred on last Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday you arrived, and on Thursday you were made aware of the violation of regulations by Robert Church and Charles Cody by their skipping school and going to the moving pictures in Plattsburgh. The Cody boy was dismissed from school for a full week and will return this Thursday. That innocent-looking man over there, Charlie. He may think he's smart, but he isn't that smart, because I found out how the two men got caught. How stupid is this? They were hitchhiking, and guess who picked them up? One of their teachers. Well, so much for that. You're never going to get out of here, you see, the way you're going. I want to talk to you briefly about Alice Minor, a woman that most people don't really know a lot about, and a woman who lived very much in the shadows of a man, William Minor, and very much in the time when men ruled the world. Remember, we didn't let women vote until 1920, and women didn't normally own property. Alice Minor never owned a piece of property. So here's this woman in the back seat. Now pay close attention, because I bought a lot of things in my life, and one of the things I buy is attention. If you pay attention, and you know the answers to some of my questions, you might win a lottery ticket. And you might win as much. One is worth $10,000. So pay attention. Okay, so what about Alice Minor? Let me tell you first of all that there are several myths and misinformation about the Minors. They're perpetuated constantly. And what I'm going to tell you about Alice Minor is probably 98% accurate. What? Well, one finds through continued research that there are errors in fact of something that they thought was fact. And unfortunately, a lot of historians aren't willing to admit that. So I hope that as time goes by, I can face up to that kind of thing. Let's do a quick bio of Alice Minor. She was born in 1863 in Goderich, Ontario. So she's a year younger than William, and like William, she did not come from wealth, and she grew up in a relatively rural background, giving her an appreciation for rural areas. In 1882, she's orphaned. She moves to Chicago to live with two brothers. In 1895, she marries William Minor. 1902, she gives birth to their only child that died 14 days later. In 1924, she opens her museum. 1930, he dies. And in 1950, she dies at the age of '86. In terms of interest in activities, Alice Miner was a relatively average person. Well, she had money. Yes, she had money, and therefore her involvement in some of her activities was more extensive than some others might have been. She loved traveling. Nothing unusual about that. But because of money, she obviously got to travel lots of places that other people wouldn't, whether it's in this country or Europe. She loved swimming and boating. And there's a very interesting letter where she writes to William Miner in the early 1900s. She's visiting someplace and she's been swimming, and she writes to talk about how that is one of their greatest mutual enjoyments, the water. She likes food and eating, my kind of woman, and writes frequently about that in one in correspondence and two in her diaries. And there's a funny little piece in a 1899 letter where she's visiting in Goderich and he's back in Chicago, and she writes about all this wonderful food she's having with friends, and she says, "I'm afraid by the time I get back in 2 weeks, I'll be back up to 140. A true reflection of her love of food, I guess. She she engaged constantly in sewing and needlework. Nothing unusual. She loved shopping. I'm sure if there had been malls in Alice's day, she would have gone to malls. She loved playing bridge. She loved going to theater and museums. And she liked to walk. A little ahead of her time, I think. She was often seen walking from the farm to the school, usually with one of their dogs. Now, some people will say that Alice Miner was aloof. There are probably people in this room who remember her and say she was somewhat aloof. Well, it's pretty clear that, as I said, she lived in the shadows of a man who was incredibly outgoing, a very, very personable individual. She's in his shadows, and by comparison, she's probably somewhat shy by comparison. And she's also a woman of that period of time who, we wouldn't like to hear this today, but remembered her place at that time. He was center stage. And so by comparison, she paled. And there's lots and lots of evidence that she was anything but aloof or retiring. She was very much into volunteering. Those of you who are Presbyterians will know that she was extremely involved in the Presbyterian Church. She was a Sunday school teacher. She made bandages during World War I, and she was on several boards. In fact, after William Miner died, she was president of the Chazy School Board. But it's also very clear that her board positions at the school, at the hospital, the Miner Foundation, Miner Enterprises, were essentially in title only. Alice Miner may have been the president of the school board, but she was not calling the shots, so to speak. So, what was Alice Miner's heart's delight? For William Miner, his heart's delight was his farm. No one would ever argue that. And for Alice, it's pretty clear that her one thing that she could lay claim to in life that was hers was her museum that some of you know as the Colonial Collection. How did she get started? She starts collecting in 1911. Not uncommon for women, moneyed women. Some were running off to Europe to collect what they assumed was the best of European art. and others were collecting what in the writing was sometimes referred to as the pretties, things appealing to the eye. So Alice starts collecting in 1911 at the prompting of Chicago friends. And she continues to collect with a passion. Now, it's during this period in this country that we came to know as the colonial revival period. People are hearkening back to the past, a time that they saw as a better time. Not unlike today, we often reflect on the past, but it was very much a movement at that time. And it impacted on everything imaginable, from art, architecture, literature, to urban planning. And one of the things that some people were doing was creating colonial revival house museums, so we could see how people lived at an earlier time. Now you have to remember, if you've been to the museum here or another colonial revival house museum, their idea of colonial was a little different from what we see as colonial today. It tended to be anything in the past. And the past was then and before. So you will go to a colonial revival house museum like the one here, and you will see things that are, that's Victorian. Yes, but that's how they pictured the past. So you ended up with these very, very eclectic collections. Now, who influenced Alice Miner in the creation of her museum here in Chazy? It is very clear that two Chicago individuals, both church-related friends, had a very strong impact on her creation of the museum. A woman by the name of Emma Hodge and a gentleman by the name of Frank Gonzalez, who was the pastor of their church. He was an evangelistic minister, one of the Billy Grahams of the day. Those two people had a very major impact on her. If you went through the museum, you would find item after item that came from Emma Hodge while she's helping Alice create her museum. Other influences, part of the ongoing research is, what were the other influences? Some people feel that the Miners' attendance, and they did attend at the Columbian Exposition in 1893, had a major impact on both him in the creation of his farm and Alice in the creation of her museum. That's hard to prove, and what the other influences were remain a mystery, and maybe if I'm still alive in 20 more years and you get the opportunity to listen to me, I'll tell you what some of those other influences were. His contributions, and the reflection is always on William Miner. Rarely do you hear William and Alice Miner. It's William Miner who gave us the school. It's William Miner who built the hospital. Alice's heart's delight was and still is the museum. Now, if you were paying attention, and some of you were, not too many people were sleeping, if you tell me what year Alice Miner died. Well, I heard, see, as you get older, you know what happens with a hearing, and I didn't bring my ear horn, so all I heard was a bunch of 1930s, 1950s. Oh, and there's a woman in the back who's just dying to answer. This is like school groups that come to the museum. You ask kids questions like this. So you have to call on them. What year did she die? 1950. My dear lady, you have just won $8,868. What year did Alice Miner give birth to her only child? Got to raise your hand. 1902. We have a winner over here. Yes. This is the 10,000 Smackers.
I'll take it for
Okay. The museum opened, Alice's museum opened in what year? 1924, who said that over here? Oh, the innocent young woman at the end. Okay, and here's your last chance. Here's your last chance. Lucky Sevens. What year did she and William Miner marry?
1995.
Oh, who said that over here? Oh, I can see the look in your eyes. Okay, that's the end of the prizes. That's the end of my talk. Thank you very much for
Thank you very much, Fred. I couldn't help but think while Fred was talking that it's really appropriate that we have this alumni banquet here, because this was one of the 3 places when we were in high school and we spent most of our time in school. We spent there, of course, to try to learn whatever we could. We came here for basketball games. We came here for Friday night dances. We came here for our senior class play, and many, many other activities took place in this building. And then, not all of you might be familiar with our third important spot, but that was a place a little bit north of the border called the Brewery Pole. I don't think Charlie ever skipped school to go there, but okay. Next, we have Kathy Devens again, your executive director, to tell you about the scholarships that were awarded last night. Kathy.
Before I announce the recipients of the Alumni Association scholarships, I would like to recognize a few of our alumnus who have made the news with some outstanding accomplishments. This is something that we would like to start doing at our banquets, so what we would ask of each and every one of you is if you're aware of some accomplishments of an alumnus, please let us know so we can announce it at the banquet and share it with everyone. The first person I'd like to talk about is Jan Trombley. She's from the class of 1975, and she was inducted into the Old Dominion University Hall of Fame in May of this year for her outstanding performance when she played for the Lady Monarchs at Old Dominion and for the U.S. Olympic basketball team in 1979. Rob Gravel. Rob Gravel, class of 1986, led his S.S. Seward High School basketball team not only to the Final Four, but they also became the state champions in basketball in March of this year. And we also feel the need to mention James Laramie. Some of you may know that James passed away on October 13th of 2002. He was the president and executive director of the Alumni Association for many years. And anyone who knew Jim, I'm sure you would agree with me that he was a man who gave a great deal to his community and was always there for his family and friends. And we certainly all miss him. The Alumni Scholarships. This year we had 3 applicants apply, and out of the 3, only 2 met the criteria that we set forth to be a recipient of the scholarship. The recipients of the Alumni Association received a scholarship in the amount of $1,000 that was presented at graduation last evening. They will receive that once they complete 1 semester of college and verify that they will be continuing their college for the 2nd semester. So they actually do not get the money until in February. This year the recipients were Tori Perry, daughter of Steve Perry, class of 1976, and Stephen Roy, son of Cindy Bayshard, class of 1971. And congratulations to 2 very worthy students.
And next we have an old friend of mine, really old. I see him sitting in front of me here. It says Richard West. When we were in school, we knew him as Dickie Richard Antoine West, or Crossdraw, as we like to call him. Dick, do you want to come up?
It's my honor this year to be able to announce the Alumnus of the Year Award. When our committee met, there were half a dozen people on the committee, and it's amazing, almost at once, one name came out from everybody. This is quite uncommon, but this year, this one person's name came right out. It seems like everybody had it on their mind. The biggest problem of this was to try to find someone of the vintage of the person that's going to receive this award. And it isn't everybody that wants to get up and go in front of people and speak. But sometimes I don't have too much of a problem. So anyway, it ended up that I was the one to present this award. I was about as close as they could come, and it seems like a long time ago, 14 or 15 years would have made a great deal of difference in a person's age. But right now, it's not that much. And between the recipient and myself, there's only about 14 or 15 years, so it's getting closer all the time. We always like to select a person that has been an asset to the community and their fellow man. Our alumnus has proven this many times. Our alumnus this year has been a faithful communicant of the church. Our alumnus of this year has served in the U.S. Army and has been a very, very close friend to his neighbors. He also at one time served on Chazy Central Rural School board. Now there are pictures of this person serving on the CCRS school board, and if you take those pictures and you bring them to this person today, it's kind of hard to tell if there's any relation, but if you look real close you can see it. There's quite a difference in it. We all really think that the greatest reward a person can receive is when your neighbors, your co-workers, and your friends think about what you have done, and like we up here in the North Country, and we say, you've done good. And this person has done good. I'm going to boil it down real quick. Our alumnus of this year has also been our friend and our doctor for 56 years. I would like to present to you the 1938 graduate of CCRS, You kept us all in suspense because he's been on vacation and he didn't really come back into town until last evening.
That's right.
Doctor.
Thank you. I didn't know anything about this, of course. I was amazed, and
That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's supposed to be. I'm very happy, and thank you all very much.
I'd like to present to you this plaque. It just shows our appreciation of what you've done for our community and some of our families and your fellow man through the years. Like I said, it's an honor for me to be able to present this to you.
Thank you, Dave. I think I was saying that as I was going through training and so on, and later on when I was in the Army, they would ask me where I came from, and I would say, Chazy, New York. Well, where is that? What are you going to do when you get through the training? And what specialty are you going to embark upon? And I've always said, I'm not going to be a specialist. I want to go back to that little town with a funny name, way up in northeastern New York, and be a country doctor. That's what I did, and it's been great. Thank you all very much.
Okay, we're getting down here at the end of the program, which I'm sure everyone on a warm night will be happy with. And for the closing remarks, we have a man of few words, Mr. Donald Bucket Trombley, the class of 56. You notice I said few words, Bucket.
Thank you, Bucket.
They told me to keep it short, but they also gave me a whole pocket full of notes. For anyone that has received a 50-year pin in the past, and they've checked in the porcelain, they've cracked, if you come up and see Dick, and we will replace them with a new one. At no extra charge. Calvin, would you come over here, please? You got that on automatic, right?
No.
On behalf of the Alumni Association, it's a token of appreciation for you coming every year from the Alumni Association. And if anyone in the class or anyone here is interested in the tape or anything, you contact Calvin. Good time to catch him to beat tonight or see his wife. And she'll take care of it.
Have her stand up. Have her stand up.
Could you stand up, Mrs. Cassie, so they'll know where you're at. And of course, every year we have to go through this. Last year I asked for people to come forward and help the Alumni Association, and they did. The response was overwhelming, but we still have a lot of positions available and room for improvement. And I promised them I would keep this short, but looking ahead a little bit, next year is going to be our bicentennial celebration, which brings us into a year that is going to be full of activity. I don't know if anyone is here from that's on that committee. Ray, are you on that, or preparations for them? Is anyone here from the? I'm in the background. Sorry, but anyway, there's going to be a lot of activity going on. To my knowledge, we'll all know when graduation is, and we'll also know when the Alumni Banquet will be, and I presume our home day will be the same, the last Sunday in July. So if anyone that is planning anything, you should try to get in touch with someone within that committee. I think the president of the committee is Ed Dragoon, or any town official, and clarify dates so that we don't get things overlapping and people know which direction to go in. And our next, well, just as long as I'm on it, our next big activity is Old Home Day, last Sunday in July, which will be our, Richard, how many years? 30, you're calculating, huh? Many, several, quite a few years.
All of them, all of the above.
And not all the above. Okay, but anyway, and something else the alumni is always looking forward is news, which comes hard. But anyway, they like that for the newsletter. So if you're aware of anything happening, or let us know. And also if you're keeping track of everybody when they move, so that they get their alumni newsletter, they know when the activities are. Make sure you let us know somehow. Just send it to the Alumni Association, Chazy, New York. Somebody will get it. And without further ado, I'm sure everybody's warming up by now. Ray's already clapping. I want to thank everyone for coming, and it's been a very good year. And hope to see you again. Drive careful. And I'd like to present Richard. You come up and give us your due, and God bless America.
Gotta get my piano player.
Your piano player.
Get my piano player.
It's not me, Bucket. But that was good.
That was good. Short enough.
Thank you, Bucket. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That was very good, Bucket.
As every year, we have a tradition in Chazy, and I don't know of many other communities that do it, but we always ask our good Lord to bless our town and bless our country. So if we could all stand and sing one of the greatest songs that's ever been sung in the US of A. America, God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night and the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. Kate Smith would be proud. Thank you, George and accompaniment, for the great entertainment. Now we don't have to hurry away. If you'd like to sit down and just discuss a few things, you sit down and enjoy. Later on, we're going to have cruises on the Great Chazy River. We will be selling tickets for a night stay at Grey Gables in the honeymoon suite. We will take you up the river and down the river in a slow rowing rowboat. It's very quiet. We all have bug repellent. So everyone enjoy.
This is Calvin Castine. It's June 30th, 2003, and Hometown Cable has returned to South Acres. I think the last time I did a ball game here, these dugouts were not part of the landscape, but they are now. We did many games over the years in City Women's League and Gentlemen's Slow Pitch League play. But our first ever game was right here in this field back on June 7th, 1983, 20 years ago, 20 years and 23 days ago. It was a championship game in the Section 7 Class B playoffs. So we are very familiar with this spot. Helen Giroux hits it to the right side through the infield, gets away in the outfield. She wasn't watching that ball. You're running, ball hit the right field and you're running to right. You gotta be watching that ball. She turned to make her turn as if she was just gonna have a single, but that play was right in front of her, so she should have caught on that she had extra bases there. And Drew's gonna try to steal, and you gotta slide when you come to the plate on a close play. Don't know what that was all about, why she was able to come in. I'm not sure if she is out or not. We'll find out sooner or later. This is Amanda Keeble. She is the Chazy pitcher. She hits the pitch through the left side of the infield, and Keeble will round. I'll bring up Caitlin Howley, the first baseman, pitching for Plattsburgh. This is, by the way, this is Calvin Castine. I think I've mentioned that part. And this is Pony Softball, the Clinton County Youth Commission play. This is Chazy at the city of Plattsburgh. And Chazy stealing the base. Chazy being very aggressive on the base paths. Oh, that hit her. So Howley will hobble to first base. So first and second for Chazy. And Danielle Tierney will step up. With her father umping at first base, she is guaranteed a hit. That's a little high, so both runners will advance. Pitching for Plattsburgh is Jamie Ligori. Her battery mate is Kelly Stedman. At first base is Katie Worcester. Second baseman Nicole Buck. Shortstop is Alicia Stanton. It's high. And again, Chazy trying to steal here, and they're going to get the run in. Oh, that's a good way to break an ankle. I'm not sure, they're questioning what the rules are here. I know for years in Pony, you could not steal home unless there was a play on you or someone else. The person stealing home could not initiate the play. Okay, so the runners have been put back at their respective bases. So that was fine for high school, but in Pony League you cannot steal unless there's a play on you or the other player.
You guys understand that? Okay. There was no pass ball. She took the ball. Then it came down the baseline. All four. Challenge the catcher, which is fine. Right? All four. Catcher threw the ball back.
All four. Tierney walks. Loads the bases.
The pitcher. Once the ball goes back to the
Ashley Levine is the batter. Not sure how much of this game I'm able to get. The way it's going, I might not get much of it. I'm getting out of here shortly after 7:30. Somewhere else to be. We'll get as much as we can, but it may not be too many innings the rate they're going right now.
Okay, Ash, bring that back. Bring that back, Ash.
I don't know if we've completed the roster here. I just dropped my roster. I don't think I've finished reading it. Now this could be new here, where they on a pass ball you could steal. In years past, and of course they keep changing these youth league rules, so you have to know from year to year what they're doing. But years past, you could not steal at the pony level. Steal home, that is, unless there's a play on you or someone else. It's called strike three. So Levine is out. Now Mary Emery steps up. Runners at second and third. Not sure if Giroux scored or not. Okay, 2 outs. Run scored, so Giroux did score. Now Casey Olds will step in. I believe that's 3 runs in for Chazy. In the outfield, Lauren Tyler, Cherie Trudeau, I should say, Tori Buck, and Jordan Bond, going from left to right for Plattsburgh.
Good eye, Kate. Good eye. Good eye, Kate.
1-1 to count. Runner at third. First and second are vacant. There's strike 2.
Okay, Kate. Anything close. Anything close now.
In tight, 2-2. Temperature is 78 degrees when we arrived here at South Acres. Hit her on the foot. Hit her on the foot. So, dead ball. Runner at first. Runner at third has to stay there. Sarah Winters up for Chazy. Her throw down. And Tierney scores. And Olds will score. That's 5 runs. A double steal was, well, actually delayed steal from third. In most cases, the catcher wouldn't throw on that one. They concede second base because of what you just saw, but danger of that happening. Sarah Winters, as I was starting to say, you may have noticed there are a couple of players who aren't necessarily from Chazy. Sarah Winters from the Moores area and Danielle Tierney from Champlain. Northern Tier didn't have a pony team, unbelievable as that may sound. So the County Youth Commission tries to find a team for them, and of course Chazy nearby, they needed a couple players, so it worked out to everybody's advantage. But it's kind of sad, Northeastern has had a couple of back-to-back good seasons at the varsity level. And you'd like to see those younger players, the JV players age, playing some ball in the summer. And we're going to have Winters safe at first base. Orster will tie her shoe now. Stepped on her shoelace. Stepped on her shoelace. And the rest is history. This is Kaylee Purrier. She's the left fielder. It's high. 2 balls, no strikes. Fair ball. Short toss to first in time. All right, we'll add up the runs. It sounds like 9 batters, 1 left. Sounds like about 6 runs. We'll check that. Or maybe